Who are the best characters to aim for and invest in during the Arknights Endfield launch? Based on my 150 hours playing on the beta, here's the answer. Arknights is just straight up one of the strongest characters in the game. Basically, if you're playing a physical team, you just want to play him. In fact, as I explain why, I want you to try and keep track of just everything that he does. His skill increases the physical damage taken by enemies based on the vulnerability stacks consumed, so it's a debuff. His ultimate restores SP to the team as they apply vulnerable stacks to enemies. More SP for physical teams means more vulnerable stack application. Also, for some reason, he's a buffer too. His weapon and his talent, and by extension his gear set, all give buffs to other characters in the team. And all that would be fine if he did bad damage, but he really doesn't. I think Hypergriff here is a clear favorite, and as a Pog main, I'm not complaining. The Glaze isn't going to stop there either. The team he's part of, Monophysical, is one of the best in the game. He wants a balance of physical damage dealers and vulnerability application. Damage dealer should be obvious because he amps the damage of other characters in his team, but as for vulnerability application, it's literally mandatory because otherwise, you're just not going to be able to proc his ultimate. That makes him borderline useless. While ideally paired with Li Feng, Chen, and Japan, he does have other options. While I was playing during the beta, I didn't have Li Feng, so I was using both Enmin and Ember. For the start of the game when we have such few units, that's actually a pretty versatile lineup. It's also worth noting that his role in these team comps is not replaceable by any of the cast either. Because of how broken his SP generation and his buffing capabilities are, there's just no one who does what he does, making him best in slot for every physical character. Basically, no matter what physical team you want to play, Pog is going to be a part of it. He fits them like a glove. Kinda wish I were Pog's glove. If you want an in-depth explanation about how Pog works, you can always check out my beginner Pog guide. It also explains how physical teams as a whole work as well. Now, let's move on to Ardelia. Ardelia is our standard banner healer. While healing is a nice luxury, her main utility comes from her damage increasing capabilities. Her combo skill triggers when an enemy is hit by a final strike and has no art or vulnerability stacks on them. This combo skill will cause the enemy to be inflicted with corrosion, lowering their art's resistances. The most important part of this is how it ties into her battle skill. If an enemy has corrosion and you hit them with their skill, you apply both physical and art susceptibility on the enemy, increasing the damage they will take for 30 seconds. Because her combo skill can be procced in any team, and she buffs both physical and arts related damage, she just goes everywhere. I said she's an insane generalist, I meant it. If you're thinking of a solution for how to team build, Ardelia can easily slot into just any team. Healing will be pretty important for most of the player base as well. Everything hits hard, and I mean everything. Dailies hurt, overworld mobs hurt, and don't even get me started on those bosses. I mentioned it before, the fact that you're getting it for free and you get her weapon to boot, that's just completely insane. I would highly recommend building her. I mean, just what kind of psychopath would say no to this? For a 6-star character, Antal would be pretty good. So what does that make him as a 4-star character? Broken. He's another supportive character, and his kit is centered around buffing both electric and heat-based teams. Currently, that means team comps like Aviwena or Levitain can make great use of him. His skill applies focus, causing the enemy to be inflicted with heat and electric susceptibility. Basically, they just take extra damage from both of those arts. He also has minor arts infliction on his combo skill, which can help in Levitain teams. His ultimate is the big reason to run him though. It grants both electric and heat amp for the entire team for 12 seconds, up to 28% at max level. His buffing capabilities get even better from there as well. Because he applies both susceptibility and amp, he can actually proc Eternal Sheer Knight, giving his team an additional 16% attack for 15 seconds. If you're playing a heat-based or electric-based team, Antal is an insanely good character to prioritize leveling. It's actually pretty disgusting that he's only a 4-star unit, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he ends up getting nerfed from the beta. Levitain is our first limited character, and justifiably so. Not only is she extremely adept in single-target content, her AoE capabilities are absolutely broken, and that's because of how her kit works. Levitain is a stack-based character. As you apply heat infliction on enemies, Levitain will consume them by using her final strike, converting them into her stack. At 4 stacks, she can use her enhanced skill, which hits harder than my uncle that one time I talked back to him when I was 8. Remember how I said she's even more broken for AoE-based content? Well, that's because when she uses her final strike, she consumes the heat's infliction on every single mob nearby. On top of that, when you're inside of her ultimate form, her basic 3 becomes a huge AoE, and every single character hit gets applied with heat's infliction. Basically, fights turn into an enhanced skill buffet. I will say that she is reliant on her teammates applying heat infliction, so that does somewhat restrict your team building. you're not running Wolfguard or Akakuri with Levitain, you're going to be in a bit of a pickle. They're the only two on-demand heat infliction characters we have currently, so you're kind of forced to run one of them. That said, I don't think I've even properly glazed how strong this character is, so let's go ahead and do that. I wasn't even properly invested for this clear. None of my other characters have proper gear, and they're all underleveled as well, both in their character levels and their skill talents, yet I was still able to clear it. She's the character I'll personally be going for on launch. Though if that didn't convince you, consider the following. She's hot. Just like Pog, I have a Levitain guide on the channel, so if you want a more in-depth explanation about Levitain, her teams, and her mechanics, go ahead and check that out. Let's talk Akakuri. It's a bit of a curveball to put her on this list, as she's not the most powerful character in the game. With that said, let me explain. As a 4-star character, everyone is going to have access to Akakuri for free. On top of that, she makes for a pretty decent generalist. Both her ult and her combo skill will restore SP for the team, and on top of that, she also has buff application. Her potential 3 gives your team 10% attack when she uses her ultimate, and her ult applies link to teammates, making the next skill or ultimate you cast in your team deal increased damage. That once again means that, just like Antal, you can run external Rhinne, giving your entire team the buff. I also want to point out just how universal her combo skill is. It procs once you break the enemy's stagger bar, so you can slaughter in any team comp and get it. It's worth mentioning that a large part of the reason I'm actually recommending you build Akakuri is because you're not really building Akakuri. The reality is, her damage just straight up doesn't matter. As I mentioned before, her main benefits come from the fact that you regenerate SP from her ultimate and she gives you buffs. That means you just get her ultimate skill leveled up and you can ignore everything else. On top of that, once you unlock the ability to equip her with the external Rhinne set, you can just stop leveling her completely and you're completely fine. Couple that with the fact that she can go in basically any team and gain some amount of value for your account. That is really nice if you're a player like me who wants to invest in multiple teams. I'll be speedrunning Enfield on launch to beat the endgame as soon as possible. You can check that out at twitch.tv/Rhinne, and in the meantime, check out my beginner guide for Arknights Endfield or my 100-hour experience playing the game.